Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Village Board meeting to order on Monday, August 5, 2019, and ask if you would please rise and join the Village Board in the Pledge of Allegiance. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Here.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Here.
Trustee LaBedz.
Here.
Trustee Baldino.
Here.
Trustee Canty.
Here.
Trustee Padovani.
Here.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Here.
Trustee Scaletta.
Here.
President Hayes.
Here. Before we start with the formal agenda, I just wanted to have a moment of silence for I think it's now up to 31 victims of the mass shootings in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. These are just all too frequent situations that are happening around our country and around the world. And it's just by the grace of God that it hasn't yet happened here in Arlington Heights. And so if we could, just a moment of silence for the victims and their families and all those impacted by these tragic incidents. Thank you. We move on then in the agenda to approval of minutes, and the first item is the approval of the Village Board meeting minutes from July 15, 2019. Are there any changes or passes? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Move approval.
Second.
By Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from July 8th, 2019. Any changes or passes?
Move approval. Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Rosenberg, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next, the approval of the accounts payable, and a call on Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, President Hayes. I move approval of the warrant register with a check date of July 30th, 2019 in the amount of $4,343,686.45.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Rosenberg, seconded by Trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta.
Yes.
Trustee Baldino.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee Padovani.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, under recognitions and presentations, we're pleased to be joined tonight by representatives from the Forest Preserve District of Cook County to present their strategic plan to us. And so I'm not sure who's here. There we go. If you come forward and just introduce yourselves, if you would. Thank you for coming tonight.
Hi, Mr. Mayor, trustees, and residents of Arlington Heights. My name is Delio Calzolari, and I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs at the Forest Preserves of Cook County. And this is my colleague.
My name is Michelle Motlowitz, and I am the Director at River Trail Nature Center.
All right, thanks for coming. Please proceed.
Thank you for having us today. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Forest Preserves of Cook County and the efforts to protect and restore and live up to our name as the Forest Preserves. We want to make sure that all residents feel comfortable and welcome in the Forest Preserves. Cook County is the second most populated county in the country, and yet we have one of the most ecologically diverse habitats in the county. We have so many different kinds of habitats: woodland, savanna, wetland, prairie. These lands help to keep our land clean, our water and our air clean, helps to prevent flooding during heavy rainfall, and 90% of the threatened and endangered species within Cook County fall in Forest Preserve land. This is very important. What's especially important, besides helping to save and to protect and restore these habitats and provide habitat for animals and plants, is also to connect people with nature. The nature part for the connection and the nature part for people is so important. We know this. We have 300 miles of trails, 10 lakes, lagoons, rivers for boating. We have 6 nature centers. One of them is River Trail. We have 5 campgrounds, 3 pools. We have 10 golf courses, hundreds of picnic groves. All of these different ways to connect people with nature. We know that connecting nature with people is good for them. It's good for their health. It's good for their emotional health and physical health. There are so many opportunities, and most of these opportunities are free. So 100 years ago, over 100 years ago, is when we created, or not myself, but the Forest Preserves of Cook County had been created. We are now in the next 100 years of looking at the forest preserves and what we can do, what our mission will be. We used to think that all we needed to do is acquire land and prevent it from being developed, but we understand that that is not enough. We understand that we need to work the land. So this is what the Next Century Conservation Plan is all about. And in this Next Century Conservation Plan, we have 4 main goals. We want to work on nature, people, economy, and leadership. We want to make sure that in nature we're restoring health. We want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and connected and comfortable in the forest preserves. We want to make sure that people understand the value of having these open lands, and we want to increase stewardship and leadership with the forest preserves, with all of these lands. In case you are not aware, not only is the Forest Preserve manager of our Forest Preserve properties, but we are also the home of the Brookfield Zoo and the Chicago Botanic Garden. They are on Forest Preserve land. So not only are we working with native wild animals and native plants, but we also continue our mission by working with international species. So together we want to work on restoring the land, connecting people. We want to make sure that wildlife thrive, but also that communities thrive together. I'm going to pass it on to.
So Michelle hit it a little bit. There, there's a lot of options available for people. I don't know.
Come on over.
Let me jump over. So in addition to all the amenities available and attractions available, and plus the scientific benefit of the forest preserves and our partners, the Chicago Botanic Garden and the Brookfield Zoo, there is a hard economic impact to the region from just the mere existence and the maintenance of the forest preserves of Cook County. So that $469 million figure, there's a handout here that goes into that a little bit more in detail. So $469 million per year in benefit, ecological services benefit, which includes groundwater recharge, helping with flooding control, even though it's not our main mission. The existence of our lands does help with flooding control, and also carbon sequestration. Now, that $469 million annual benefit comes from an entity, the Forest Preserves, whose annual budget is $100 million a year. So we're paying back what we receive from our residents and taxpayers many times over in that eco-services benefits alone. So it's a pretty good bargain. So every home in next slide, please. Oh, sorry, we can go through those. I kind of hit those. There we go. So every home in Cook County, the property tax levy for the forest preserves is less than 1% of everyone's property tax bill. In this region and in Arlington Heights, it's probably closer to 0.3 to 0.4% of the property tax bill, the levy for the forest preserves. So that equals about $40 a year in property taxes to the forest preserve to fund this treasure, which equals, if you look at a couple of Starbucks coffees a month, that's about what it's taken to sustain the forest preserve and get these benefits back. Go on. So and we hope that people celebrate this and they enjoy not only the amenities and the ability to go out in nature and connect with nature, but also the pure economic impact and benefit to the region. And this handout made available on the other side that doesn't talk about the ecosystem services, there's actually an economic impact study that was done. So for every dollar spent in the Forest Preserve, we're generating $2 to the local economy. So what do we ask for folks to do? Both elected officials and residents, we ask them to participate, advocate, and support the Forest Preserves of Cook County.
Well, thank you for your presentation and for all you do for the residents of Arlington Heights in particular, but also all of Cook County. I know I've enjoyed the Forest Preserves a lot myself. I've been out fishing at Bussy Woods many, many times. In fact, I enjoyed it so much there one evening that I stayed too late and they closed the gates on me. It was very embarrassing, but I did have to call somebody that was back when they had payphones. I didn't have a cell phone. And they had to come and open the gates for me late at night. And so I very much appreciate all that the Forest Preserves do for providing many, many recreational opportunities for our residents. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And please plug it in our website, fbdcc.com.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Question for you on participation. I live in North Arlington Heights and was just curious what kind of collaboration you share with Lake County as far as where we have the border of Lake Cook Road and half, the south side is Cook County and north side is Lake County, and we have those forest preserves that are across the street that are Lake County, but we're trying to achieve some kind of ability to utilize the facilities and crossover and things like that. Do you ever collaborate with them on things like that?
We do communicate with them. On the governmental affairs side, we do speak with them frequently and advocate together for shared needs, particularly with the state, because forest preserves are actually state entities. They're enacted in state law. Programmatically, Michelle might be able to speak to that better than I can.
We actually do quite a bit through River Trail and Crabtree Nature Center for Arlington Heights. In fact, coming up on September 19th, I believe, the Arlington Heights Library will be doing a Bird of Prey program for the residents. And I've been in this building several times doing programs on coyotes. So we do a variety of different kinds of programming. Many of the preschools, Arlington Heights Park District, many of the schools visit our nature centers and visit the other facilities. In terms of programming on the Lake County side, we don't do any programming on the Lake County side, but be happy to partner with Lake County Forest Preserves if that should ever come across, become available.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I also want to thank you for all that you do. The forest preserves are really a treasure, and we are very fortunate that 100+ years ago there were people who had the foresight to create these. And I just want to mention that one of my family's favorite places is Crabtree Nature Center, and we go there fairly often, and it's fun to see it in different times of year and see what little frog or what deer or what bird or whatever we're going to happen upon as we're there. But I certainly highly recommend it to anyone especially someone who's never been out there. It's a real treasure. But they're all a treasure. So thank you.
Anything else from the board? Well, thank you again for joining us tonight, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Mayor
very
and
much.
trustees.
We move on then in the agenda to citizens to be heard. And I do have a number of blue cards to get to tonight, and so I'm going to call you up one by one and then mention the name of the person who's on deck so we can move this along. We do have a 3-minute time limit for this agenda item, so if you would, please try to stick to that. You'll see our clock up here on the wall, and I'll give you a little bit of leeway, but I'm going to ask you to try to finish your thought when we get in that neighborhood. So we appreciate you coming and addressing the village board on these items that are not on our formal agenda. So the first is Heidi Graham, and on deck will be Dr. Theodore Frank. Hi, Heidi.
Good evening. How are y'all today? So I am Heidi Graham, president of the League of Women Voters of Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Buffalo Grove, Prospect Heights, Wheeling, and Elk Grove Village. And that should give me another 30 seconds. I am here tonight to talk to you about a youth voter engagement program that the League of Women Voters has been doing for the last year. This project came about because we were concerned in 2016 we hit a 20-year low in terms of our voter turnout. 55% of those eligible to vote cast their vote in 2016. Furthermore, among young voters aged 18 to 24, only 50% were even registered to vote, and only 39% actually followed through and voted in that 2016 election. So, as is the goal of a nonpartisan group like League of Women Voters to encourage active participation in our community, which includes educating eligible voters about how to register to vote, this is a major objective of ours. And so what we did in the 2018-19 school year is we delivered nearly 3,500 birthday envelopes to students in School District 214 and St. Viator High School on their 18th birthday to encourage eligible 18-year-olds to register to vote. The envelope includes a birthday letter that includes information about how to register to vote, a vote sticker, a magnet with absentee voting information, and a pen stylus with the quote, "The vote is mightier than the pen." Also has candy in it. We know how to get to these teenagers. The follow-up from our first survey is as follows. 79.6% of students received the envelope. We targeted each and every student. We did not handpick them. Every student was targeted to get one of these envelopes. 210 students cited the birthday envelope as the main reason that they registered to vote. Over 1,200 students said that the birthday envelope made it more likely that they would register to vote. And the remaining students cited that they would have registered regardless. So if we look at just Arlington Heights alone, 3,684 students in District 214 are Arlington Heights residents. So this is what we are looking to target. The cost of this program, of our 100% volunteer organization, the cost of this program is about $1 per envelope. We administer this to every single student. So I'm not asking for a donation. I'm asking for an ad. We put ads on the back of our envelope. So you see Mount Prospect gave us a $500 ad fee, as did the Jaycees and the city of Prospect Heights. So it's been a little bit of a confusion because we are a nonpartisan organization, we are a nonprofit, that what I've been asking for has been a donation, and I'm not. I'm asking for an ad. So I just wanted to come and kind of clarify that confusion with the board. Plus, it's a great opportunity for me to brag about this amazing thing that we do, not only to you guys, but to the community at large. So I appreciate your consideration, and have a great night. Right. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Heidi. This is a great initiative, I think an important initiative as well, to reach out to young voters and get them engaged in the democratic process. And so we thank you for your efforts in this regard. And I assume you'll take individual donations as well from members of the community. All right. Thanks a lot. Next is Dr. Theodora Frank, and then on deck is Calvin Flental.
Good evening, everybody. I've lived in Arlington Heights for over 30 years on North Forest Avenue. It's been 7 years since I addressed this body, so I've seen some of you before. To remind you, I'm the one that had 7 feet of water in her basement one night in the summer of 2012. I've had a lot of contact with the village over the years. You're probably as tired of seeing me or hearing from me as I am being here. And I am truly exhausted. To remind everybody, we've never had a problem on our street for years until all the big houses were put in without any kind of plan for water disbursement. I'm here tonight specifically because, not because I have nothing better to do, but because I just recently saw the latest home proposal that's being asked to be built on our street. I want to bring your attention to the plan. It's supposed to have a footprint of over 9,000 square feet. Imagine that on a lot that is 0.67 acres. We have great lots, but not for that kind of a house. The plan looks like the house will run back all but the last 50 or so feet. The house looks like it's going to be raised quite a bit, which could put a pitch of over 10 feet. I thought we could not raise houses from where they already were, but I have no idea what's going on exactly. I'm worried about where all that water's gonna go. Who absorbs that? The 600 block? The Frank house again? I'm tired. I'm exhausted dealing with this. And I just don't even know why we would allow a house that's that huge with 5 zones and 5 air conditioners. And our neighborhood is such a quaint, beautiful area of nature, speaking of nature. When is enough enough? That's what I'm asking you to look into this. I'm here to ask for prudence and guidance. Thank you.
Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I don't know the particulars of this. I know it's probably in the approval process somewhere. Mr. Reckless, do you know?
I'm not familiar with this particular proposal, but I certainly can report back to the board on the status of it.
Okay, and obviously this is, Dr. Frank, this is something that all the approval bodies that this petition goes before looks at things like this, whether or not it's going to adversely impact the water situation in the surrounding neighborhood and especially the adjacent homes. So I know this will be addressed, and we'll just have to take it as it. Okay, you're going to have to come forward.
I know they moved the design committee again for next week, or the meeting for next week. They had denied them something, and they're coming back next week. I just get worried because every time we go to those meetings, which we go to all of them, we are told we can't bring up water at those issues at those meetings because it's a building thing. But I've been to the building department, so I just don't know where to go anymore.
Okay, well, maybe the staff can contact you if you leave your
Sir,
contact information.
I'll give her one of my cards. I'll give her one of my cards and we'll follow up.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Next is Calvin Flental, and then on deck will be Chris Meyer.
How you doing? I'm Calvin Flental, and I'm a resident of Arlington Heights. I stay on Minor Street. I've been here for 3 years, close to in December. And I was talking to someone about the Block 425 project, and they were saying that they had only affordable housing and not subsidized housing, like Section 8 or, according to their income. And my concern is that going to be implemented within the affordable housing, or how does that work? But I'm concerned because where I'm at, I like to go. It's been 3 years too long. And I read some of the things that was on there, and I talked to the lady downstairs, the clerk that's dealing with the thing, and she was saying the contractor said it'll be like 18 apartments, and it'll be like $800 to $1,000 in those affordable apartments. And my concern is, the subsidized. Is the government going to be a part of this too, or?
Well, I will address that briefly, and then I'll turn it over to the staff. There is a difference, as you point out, between affordable housing component and a subsidized housing project.
It is.
This is not subsidized, Block 425, the new development that we approved there. But there are a portion of the units that have been set aside to be so-called affordable. And I think you were given correct information in terms of what the potential rents might be for those units. But there is a difference, and there's no subsidized housing, governmental funding that's going into subsidizing the rent for those units. So, Mr. Reckless, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that project it's a for-profit development. That developer is taking a financial risk to build that property in order to make a profit. They've got about 368, I believe, units coming in there, 18 of which are going to be affordable. And when we say affordable, the way that's defined is you take the median income of our area, and it has to be affordable to people who make 60% of that median income, and that's the threshold that's set by I think the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the state of Illinois. That's their definition of affordable, so that was the definition that we used.
So there's no way that Section 8 or anything else can be involved in that?
Correct. It's a private development, and that property owner, their business model is for profit, and so they want to essentially maximize their profits, and they want to build a product where they can attract people that are willing to pay a higher amount of rent.
Okay. Well, that answers my question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Flental. Next is Chris Meyer, and then the Reverend Clyde Brooks.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And my name is Chris Meyer. I live on 734 North Belmont Avenue in Arlington Heights. I've been a resident for over 30 years. I'm here to speak on behalf of a group of suburban citizens called Bridging the Black-White Divide and the Illinois Task Force on Diversity in Northwest Suburban Police Departments, as well as a group called Pizza and Social Justice. With me are members and supporters of these various groups who I ask to stand, please. Our mission is to create greater representation of minorities, especially African Americans, in the police departments of the Northwest suburbs. We surveyed racial composition of area suburban police departments and found them lacking in diversity. This is especially true of the Arlington Heights Police Department, which has no African Americans in any sworn, non-sworn, or support positions in the department. We believe in diversity on moral, ethical, and societal grounds. For the more practical among us, we believe that diversity is good for business. The largest employers in Arlington Heights all employ a higher percentage of minorities than does our own city government of Arlington Heights. While we accept at face value that our village might be serious about its commitment to fairness, there's no question that in terms of employment of minorities and blacks in particular, in policing, we do not appear to be a welcoming community. We are less diverse today than we were 20 years ago. This is in stark contrast to the trend towards growth of the minority population in Arlington Heights and many minorities in our village who are employed here, do their shopping here, and who travel through the community regularly. Currently, the village is engaged in filling the position of chief of police. We hear that may have happened already, we don't know. We ask that you disclose more information on where this process stands. The people here with me today and many more members of our community also want to know if candidates for this position have included women and minorities, specifically African American. We want to know if the village has evaluated the candidates as a formal part of the hiring process on issues of diversity. And we want to know what if the new police chief and the village police department's goals are for recruiting and employing minority officers. We also want to open a dialogue with the village to include minorities in a police department internship program, which we believe will give immediate progress to this important goal. We are a changing community. We are faced with a challenge of having a dwindling pool of interested candidates of any background and heritage to join the police ranks. We believe that if we begin proactive steps to make our policing jobs more attractive to black candidates, that we will be at the forefront of addressing the obvious issues of bias that plague other predominantly white communities in our region while increasing the candidate pool size. We see evidence in retail business, education, healthcare, and elsewhere that we are improving diversity. Yet in policing, we are all, for intents and purposes, a white force among other white forces. We believe this hurts us since the police are the most visible manifestation of our city for those who come and go through our town. Thank you very much for your time.
Right, thanks for coming tonight. Rather than address, we are going to make some comments, but rather than address them after each speaker, I've got 4 blue cards on this same subject. So let's go through all the speakers first, and then we'll make some comments. So next is the Reverend Clyde Brooks, and then on deck is the Reverend John Allen Borick. Welcome, Reverend Brooks.
Mayor, Board, thank you so very, very much for this opportunity. I'm a resident of Arlington Heights. I've lived in the northwest suburbs for 54 years, longer than most folks probably around today. Of those 54 years, 16 of those have been in this village of Arlington Heights. I rise for one reason. During those 54 years, I have devoted my life to inclusion, making sure that my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, is open to everyone regardless of gender, race, nationality. We've made some progress, but we've got a long way to go. And I want to acknowledge my friend, our village manager, for his work in helping us to launch an area initiative because the deficit when it comes to African Americans is serious. So I rise to ask a question. Why are there no people who look like me on our police departments? We're engaged in a major population shift. If you look at where industry is going, Motorola, Sears, McDonald's, moving to the city. They moved here to get better quality help. Now they're returning. If you go into the city, you'll see new roads, new townhouses. There is a movement of populations, a shift. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know where your eyes are because there's a bound, the population shift. And so our police departments should reflect those folks. We have no recruitment boundaries. We can recruit, I guess, from Indianapolis or New York if we want to. So we're surrounded with assets that can serve. And all of the arguments as I close, because you have my statement before you, I believe, that they're not interested. Let them apply. They can't pass the background test. All the other things that you've heard, let me say, that's nonsense. I served on the board of the Police and Fire Commission of Mount Prospect for a number of years. And so I know a little bit about the subject. So we call upon you as a board to remove the silence on this subject and help us to create the kind of image that will help us with recruitment. I would not apply necessarily for a job in Cicero, or maybe I would because at least they have one African American. So people look at image, and if we don't have that image, it's going to affect our ability to recruit. And so you have in the statement a series of recommendations, which I hope that you will take seriously so that we can be the headlight of the car and not the tail light of our car. In 2003, and I'm done, we did a study of diversity in 37 suburban municipalities. Arlington Heights was at the bottom then, and Arlington Heights is at the bottom now. We can do better, but we can only do better if we work together. And I'm sure working with a new chief, a village manager, that we're going to. But we need this taken to the policy level to make sure we have the kinds of policies that will bring about inclusiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Brooks. Next is Reverend Borick, and then George Motto.
Thank you, and good evening. For the opportunity to address you, those of you who have said you want to be public servants, I admire your work, and I'm glad that you are people responsibly taking your oath seriously. Along with others of the Black-White Divide, have been working over 4 years looking at, as you've heard, the area police departments, fire departments. We've been studying racism. We've been working at implementation of ideas and educating ourselves. But as the report shows, it's an embarrassment for those. My wife, Janet, and I are active at our Savior's Lutheran Church here in Arlington Heights Roads in Olive. We love this community. I teach classes there on white privilege and racism, and have been working on this issue for more than half my life. I just learned we have a new chief, and congratulations on Chief Nick Pecora. And knowing that this is a progressive thinking community, I'm assuming that you did your search like with the National Football League, looking at a wide range of people, different colors, different races, and you came up with the best one. So I'm glad that you have that person on board. I think this is a great opportunity because it's an opportunity to look at the makeup of the department with a new chief, to look at the people that are available to help with the color of that police department. I believe racism is our nation's #1 problem, and it doesn't take many headlines to see that it is. Arlington Heights, with its great resources, has an opportunity to be a beacon of light on a hill to show what a police department can look like and can address those issues. And I'm grateful for our village manager who's been very helpful in the background on these. So thank you very much. You have the power. I hope you have the will. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Borick. And then George Motto.
Good evening. I'm George Motto. I've been a citizen or a resident of Arlington Heights for 43 years. Over those years, I've come to love Arlington Heights, and I've seen the wonderful place that it really is. And even more importantly, over the last 2 or 3 years, I've made an in-depth study of Arlington Heights, its services, its government, the various foundations, the library. I've talked to so many people. And I continue to be very impressed about how Arlington Heights is a leader. I've been to national conferences, and we are way ahead of a lot of places. However, I recently made a commitment that I think that, especially with our age-friendly initiative, this isn't part of it, by the way, I'm just saying that that's what I've been working on, that I think it's time, at least for myself and for the village, to address the issue of diversity and inclusion. And I happened to attend a lecture, I guess, with Father Flager over at the Methodist Church. I can't remember. And I was impressed. And that was the time that I thought that, yes, I have to do something more. Now, part of this black and white divide. I've talked to Randy about the police force. I have no particular issues because I think we're doing a great job. But I think it's absolutely time that we increase our drive and our commitment to increase diversity and inclusion, because we have to catch up with the rest of the world in this regard, and maybe we could be leaders. Thank you.
Well, thank you, George. Those are all the blue cards that I have on this or any other issue, so let me just make a comment, if I could, and then I'd turn it over to others. You know, the facts speak for themselves. I can't change the facts, but I can assure all of you here tonight, those listening at home, and all of our residents, that there's certainly no intention on behalf of this village board, the Village of Arlington Heights, to exclude anybody or to discriminate against anybody. You know, we can change our processes and look at our processes. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had a village board goal-setting session where we were each asked what some of the challenges are for the near future for this village board and this village. And the thing that I said was diversity. We do have, I do admit that we have a changing community. We're changing just like the rest of the Chicagoland area, the rest of the country, in terms of what we look like, what our village looks like. And it's our job, it's our obligation to make sure that we incorporate the changing community into our local government and to other opportunities to serve or to volunteer. And so I can assure you, you know, it's more than just the police department. It's inclusion in our volunteer boards and commissions. And so I'm the one who does the initial interviews for those. And we've got 3 out of the 4 people that are being sworn in tonight are women. And so I try to balance out these commissions as much as possible. But I can only appoint and recommend those people and interview those people who come before me. So I'm here, we've tried to do it recently, is to open it up to anybody and everybody that wants to serve. Come forward and we'll give you an opportunity. But we can't appoint somebody if you don't come forward for an interview. So this is another call for any resident or someone who works in the community to, if you're interested in serving on one of our appointed boards and commissions, come forward. Let me know or someone else on the board or the staff know that you're interested in serving, and we'll try to find a place for you, you know, no matter what you look like. And so we want you to help. We're interested in anyone who's interested in the best interests of the Village of Arlington Heights. And so those are just my comments, and I know a number of individuals have given credit to our village manager for his leadership in this area of trying to make it better. And so I want Mr. Recklouse to address what he's been doing.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, as village manager, ultimately I'm responsible for the makeup of our workforce here in the village government. And I can tell you that inclusiveness and diversity are very important to me personally. I have attended a number of the Black-White Divide sessions, hosted one here where we specifically talked about issues in law enforcement. And for the last couple of years, I've had an ongoing and very positive dialogue with Reverend Brooks and Reverend Borg about these issues and how specifically Arlington Heights can improve. And we do have minority police officers, and we've had minority police officers in supervisory positions, and we do have a number of female officers, and we have had female officers in supervisory positions, but we don't currently have any African-American officers, and that is something that is true. 2 years ago when we did our last round of testing, we did attempt to widen our net and try to recruit more, get more candidates to apply, and we were unsuccessful. We went to city colleges and went to places that we typically don't recruit and directly sent our officers there to talk about what a good department we have, the fact that we want diversity. We think that would be it's a strength of our department to have people from different backgrounds and that have different perspectives to strengthen our department and our community. And since then, Reverend Brooks and I have been talking about more specific strategies to try to engage with community leaders and look at things from a regional approach. I'm happy to say that over the past several months, I've formed a group of area village managers and chiefs of police to look at these issues. And using the framework that Reverend Brooks identified, we're building on that, not just to increase our outreach to the African-American community, although this is obviously part of it, but also minority and female candidates as well. And that's been a group that's been meeting regularly over the last several months. We had our last meeting last month. I was on the phone with a couple of my colleagues about these issues just last week. And so it is an issue that is important. And I would encourage people, if you are a person of color or someone who's interested in law enforcement, we encourage you to take a look at our police department. We're doing testing again either in December or January. You can go to our website, vah.com, and we encourage anyone who's interested to apply. And we are going to be widening our net again to try to increase the number of candidates that we have, because this is an issue, and this is something we want to address, and it is something that, again, as village manager, I feel strongly about.
Thank you, Mr. Recklouse. Any further, Trustee Canty?
I just wanted to thank everybody for speaking. Randy, I know you've heard me talk about this a lot. It's a really important issue to me, and as a woman of color sitting up on this board, I think I've expressed to you a number of times how glad I am that you take it seriously, and I want to ask you once again and remind you to keep pushing, doing everything you can, and reaching out to different members of the community to look for new tactics to try and get more diversity. And I know it's important to you, and so I just want to thank you and thank members of the community for speaking.
Mayor Hayes, could I just add one more point?
Sure.
A press release went out. We are making Nick Pecora our chief of police effective today, and I was going to make a little comment about that later. But I can tell you that was an issue that came up in our interview process multiple times, and this is an issue with which I've spoken to Chief Pecora multiple times about his philosophy on these matters, and we're very much in accord and very much see this as a priority for this department. I want to make that point as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Recklouse. If nothing further, then we very much appreciate you coming tonight. I think it's a very important issue, and so we will move forward from this point along the lines that both I and Randy and Trustee Canty have indicated. So thank you for bringing all of this to our attention, and we appreciate you coming tonight. All right, no other citizens to be heard, then okay, well, we've got two more. All right, ma'am, if you come forward. Ma'am? Oh, I can? Yeah, come forward if you would. And then one more, and then we're going to have to move on. But
thank you. I just wanted to talk about...
Give us your name, if you would.
My name is Sheila Marinangeli, and I live on Techney Road in Arlington Heights, of course. And I am concerned about the water problem with the power, with the water mains breaking. We had one break on a Sunday night, and it was fixed on Monday, and I thought, oh, good, we're done. Then the next Sunday, it broke again, and the Monday it was out. So it broke 2 more times after the first time, and it was very inconvenient. So what is the story with that, and should I keep worrying?
Well, it's, I'm going to have Mr. Recklaus and perhaps Mr. Shirley and whoever else address this. We were going to address it later on in the agenda, but since you're here, we'll go ahead and do it now so you don't have to stay through the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
But we have an aging infrastructure in Arlington Heights. We have more than our share of water main breaks without the problems that we had in the last couple of weekends. And so these guys can address that, but thank you for bringing this up. And we did plan on talking about it tonight, so Mr. Recklaus.
Okay, because it broke 3 times.
No, thank you. And we, a week ago, the village experienced a large number of water main breaks over the weekend of July 22nd to 28th, and then to a lesser extent, but still significant, over the prior weekend prior to that. This is obviously unusual for our community to have this many breaks. As the mayor indicated, we do have an aging system, and we're making investments to help improve our system, but we had a unique situation the last couple of weekends. Some of the contributing factors last weekend were there was the location and the size of an initial break near the south water tower. And that was exacerbated by the fact that the Thomas water tower in the middle of town is down for scheduled maintenance. And so when pumps went on, this created a stressing of our system that hurt a lot of the weak points in our system and caused these breaks. Given the large number of breaks that we had last weekend during such a short period of time, the village was unable to engage in our normal communications protocols that we have for such incidents. And we apologize for any inconvenience or confusion this may have caused for our residents. However, this was one of those situations where it was going so quickly, sometimes the standard operating procedure goes out the window and we have to worry about resolving the emergency rather than following our normal rules. But we always try to learn from these types of things. We've spent a lot of time talking about these incidents and talking about the specifics of what failed and why over the past several days. And staff has reviewed both our operational and communications plans to help reduce the chances of a situation like this happening again while our Thomas water tower maintenance continues and to be more prepared if it does. We have more stress on our system on the weekends because more people are home, people are watering their lawns, and they're just using their water more frequently. This past weekend, since the new protocols were put into effect, I'm aware that there was only one unrelated water main break, which is not atypical for us to have, a water main break or 2 over the weekend. And it was resolved very quickly with little to no disruption to our residents. And so, we do appreciate that this was a dire situation. It is something that we feel we've taken steps to address, and there were a lot of things that had to go wrong in order for this to happen. And so we're confident moving forward that we can manage these situations. But while our Thomas water tank is down, we do anticipate there will probably be a little bit more problems than usual. But as I said, we've taken steps to address that.
Well, I know you had a specific question, and so perhaps we've got a couple of experts here, subject matter experts from our engineering and public works folks. And so perhaps you guys, if you could meet with this resident in the back, unless Mr. Shirley, did you have anything to add?
No, if we want an explanation for everybody here, I think Jeff Musinski could address the issue of the re-breaks, because we did have a couple water main breaks that re-broke during the course of the last couple of weeks. So Jeff, would you be able to come to the microphone and just...
Yes, with the issue of re-breaks, and sometimes it's very frustrating that you see we go out there, we repair the water main break, then quite often you'll see the excavation will be left with a mound of dirt or perhaps just a cold patch on the road for a small period of observation, and sometimes you see water start trickling back up there. Sometimes it's a little more than that, but more times than not, it's water is just seems to be impounded around there. Typically, what that means is that during the construction process, when that water main was put in the older method of construction, they would put a chain or a cable on there, and it would abrade the paint off that pipe when they put it in, and quite often that would be on the bottom of the pipe. So when they're down there, when they're down there and do make the water main repair, sometimes it's late at night, whatever, it's as small as excavation as possible, they'll put their hands all over that pipe and try to find if there's any weak spots on that pipe. Typically they'll put, and certainly on Techni, because I was down there for those times too as well to see what was going on, typically they put a clamp on there and then they fill it in and they leave. Well, somewhere 5 feet outside the excavation, there's another soft spot on that pipe, on the bottom of the pipe, where that corrosion was driven to it, where it makes the pipe wall thin. So when you have multiple, do not think that when there's multiple occasions that it goes unnoticed. This goes and we document this, and we've got a process where we've got, it started out as a 5 and now it's a 10-year water main replacement program. And certainly one of the criteria on there is the multiple hits, okay? So, and we apologize certainly on Techni, because that was a very complicated issue over there on Techni. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Anything further from staff on this? All right. Is there anyone else here that wanted to talk about the water main issue? Seeing none. All right, thank you. All right, last individual under citizens to be heard. Give us your name again.
My name is Robert Schmidt, and I was just wondering, how many days a week does the street sweeper run?
You know, it depends on the time of year. We have 3 street sweepers that we own. So in the spring, they're generally all 3 out all day long, 8 hours a day. In the fall, likewise, because of the leaves, we're sweeping leaves, they're all 3 out. During the summer, not as much, because those personnel that would normally drive the street sweepers are on construction, pothole repair, and other things that are warm weather activities. So at this time of the year, there might be 1 street sweeper out, and then if we need to task another street sweeper for specific cleanup at some location, then we would send another one out, or we would send the one that's out on its.
So how many? Is that every day of the week, or?
There's every day of the week. Spring and fall, there's generally 3 sweepers out. During the summer, it's only 1, and maybe 2, 5 days a week. Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm always trying to do what I can to help keep Arlington Heights clean, because I go around town picking up trash everywhere, cigarette butts. I've even scraped the garbage cans with a razor blade to get the gum off before. And I was just thinking what I'm seeing right now just isn't enough, and I was coming up here and wondering if possibly the budget for street sweepers could be expanded next year, because if it was up to me, the town would be clean enough to eat off the street. So I'm just feeling that enough isn't done, and I would like to see improvements on that. Maybe even something like putting out more garbage cans to make it easier for people to get rid of their trash. I just feel like if you make it easier for tourists, just people that live here in general, that would help out as well. So, I mean, I do more than my fair share to try to help keep Arlington Heights clean. But I was just, I just wanted to have that question clarified as to, like, when you guys run the street sweepers, because I just didn't feel like enough was being done. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schmidt. All right, we will then move on in the agenda to old business, and I apologize for the delay in getting to this agenda item. I know I promised some of our candidates that they'd get out of here by about 8:15, but so I apologize. Thank you for your patience. And let's move on then with old business, the report of the committee of the whole meeting from earlier this evening. And the first motion was by Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I move now, as I did earlier this evening, to recommend that the Village Board of Trustees recommend to the Liquor Commissioner the issuance of a Class B and Class T liquor license to JNS Food and Liquors, Inc., doing business as JNS Food and Liquors, located at 921 West Rand Road.
Second.
Motion by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Canty. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Well, again, thank you for your patience. Congratulations. Best of luck to you guys. All right. And next we move on to, you guys are free to leave. Thank you. We would move on then to our committee appointments, our commission appointments. And so the first is to be reported out by Trustee Canty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move now, as I did then, to concur in the mayor's appointment of Lena Joshi to the Arts Commission with a term ending April 30th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee Baldino. Questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, Lena, if you come forward to the podium, and if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your full name.
I, Lena Joshi,
Having been appointed to the Arts Commission
having been appointed to the Arts Commission
in the Village of Arlington Heights
in the Village of Arlington Heights
in the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office according to the best of my ability.
of the office according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. I'm going to give you this oath to sign in front of our village clerk, but also a village logo pin as a representative of this board and this community, and wear it proudly. We very much appreciate your willingness to serve.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
To the clerk.
And next, motion to be reported out by Trustee Padovani.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move now, as I did earlier, to respectfully concur with the mayor's appointment of Nancy Frank to the Senior Citizens Commission with a term ending April 30th, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Padovani, seconded by Trustee Scaletta. Questions or comments from the board or from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Nancy, if you come forward. And you know the drill now. If you raise your right hand and state your full name.
I, Nancy Frank,
Having been appointed to the Senior Citizens Commission
having been appointed to the Senior Citizens
in
Commission
the Village of Arlington Heights
in the Village of Arlington
in
Heights
the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office according to the best of my ability.
of the office according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Nancy. And if you would sign your oath as well, and a logo pin for you to wear proudly. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And next motion to be reported by Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move now, as I did earlier this evening, to concur in the mayor's appointment of Joyce Barbicho to the Arlington Economic Alliance with the term ending April 30th, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Scaletta, second by Trustee Baldino. Questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Joyce, if you come forward. Same for you well. If you would repeat after me. I, and state your full name.
I, Joyce Barbicho,
Having been appointed to the Arlington Economic Alliance
having been appointed to the Arlington Heights Economic Alliance
in the Village of Arlington Heights
in the Village of Arlington Heights
in the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office according to the best of my ability.
of the office according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Joyce. Joyce, just to reassure you, this is the hardest thing you'll have to do, is recite the oath. So if you could sign that with our village clerk, and please wear this village logo pin proudly. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And finally, motion by Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move now, as I did earlier this evening, to concur in the mayor's appointment of Jeff Lonigan for appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term ending April 30th, 2024.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by Trustee Tinaglia. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Saying none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Jeff? Jeff, you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your full name.
I, Jeffrey Allen Lanigan,
Having been appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals
having been appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals
in the Village of Arlington Heights,
in the Village of Arlington Heights,
in the County of Cook,
in the County of Cook,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office according to the best of my ability.
of the office according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations, Jeff. You as well. Do swear proudly. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, we've reached then the end of old business, and we very much appreciate the willingness of these citizens and residents to serve. We'll move on then to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any members of the audience who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
By Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Padovani. Any further questions or comments? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Padovani?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. Move on then to new business, and we do have one item tonight, and that's a PUD amendment for the Arlington Market, single-family homes located on North Beverly Lane. Is the petitioner present? Yes. Why don't you come forward? And just identify yourself and tell us what you're looking to do here.
My name is Thomas Buckley out of Hoffman Estates. I'm the architect for the development. Arlington Market, as you may know, was started some 10 years ago, and the original developer did not finish the remaining 17 lots. They were, my client bought the rights to complete those 17 lots. Originally, there was some population issues with the school district that they were concerned about the number of children that would result from the development. So the village in their PUD ordinance set a percentage for 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units. For the 17 remaining lots, 9 units were to be 2-bedroom and 8 units were to be 3-bedroom. We petitioned the Plan Commission to go to all 3-bedroom units, and that was approved just at the most recent Plan Commission hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Perkins, do you have anything to add?
Just that we did reach out to School District 25 and received a written response from the Assistant Superintendent of Business indicating that they have no objection to the change in the condition, and that based on their estimates it would add maybe 5 additional students. When this was first approved in 2004 or 5, The school district was going through some redistricting. They had some overcrowding. That's since been addressed with the redistricting, and they've also done a significant addition at Windsor School. So that was the reason for the condition. So as a result of their response, both staff and Plan Commission recommended approval of the change.
All right, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Buckley, question.
Why don't you come forward if you would?
What is are you planning on building all 17 of these homes at once?
Yes, two are under construction as we speak. Another 2 will be submitted for permit shortly. So, but yes, they do plan on developing all 17 lots.
Okay, so they're not going to be to order then, as far as in any way, per se?
I mean, if there's a sale, then sales and interest has been very good, so.
I mean, they're not building them as somebody buys them then?
No, not right now. We're, like I said, we're not under contract for any of the 4. So we're building 4 right now, so basically on spec.
Okay. And then after that, will they just buy it per order then, or do you know?
You know, I can't speak of that. I assume the developer has some kind of strategy that way, but we're confident that once the models are done, that we'll see more interest.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Other questions from the board? Seeing none, it's a unanimous recommendation from the staff and the Plan Commission. So I'd
move approval.
Ask for the will of the board.
I'd like to move approval for that, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Second.
Yeah. Motion to approve by Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee Schwingbeck. Any further questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We move then to the report of the village manager, and we've already addressed the one main topic. So, Mr. Eckloss, anything else?
I actually have a couple of issues tonight. First, as I noted before, it's my pleasure to announce, and the press release went out on this earlier, that after a thorough search and much thoughtful consideration, Nick Pecora has been selected to be the Arlington Heights Police Department's next chief of police. Nick's a 37-year veteran of our department and a highly respected member of our community and a regional leader. And I know he will carry on and add to the 125-year legacy and success of the Arlington Heights Police Department. And he is going to be formally sworn in at this meeting on August 19th. So we look forward to that. The other thing I was going to say is obviously with the completion of the Main and Taste this weekend, I wanted to acknowledge the hard work and efforts of the Special Events Commission and the Chamber of Commerce for working together to put those 2 events on. You know, that's really a high point, as we all know, in the year. But there was also another thing that made this year special. And I want to acknowledge the hard work, planning, and communications of our downtown construction team. And when we came before the board a few months back, and the board directed us to do all this work at once and coordinate with NICOR and so on and so forth, I know there were some folks that were concerned with the impacts of that. And we set out to get our work done downtown before Main and Taste. And I'm happy to report, as you all know, that that was done. And this was no small feat. And I just want to say that I'm very, very proud of the work of the team to get that done and get it done as well as they did before that event with a deadline. And I really want to thank the business community and the downtown residents for their cooperation and patience, and our community residents who kept coming downtown despite all the construction. So I just wanted to mention those things.
Well, great comments, Randy. You stole my thunder about the main event and taste. Just to add my thanks to the Special Events Commission in particular for the main event on Friday, and then the Chamber of Commerce and all of our downtown businesses for the Taste of Arlington on Saturday. To a certain extent, we were a victim of our own success with the crowds that showed up. I know it was a little bit difficult moving around Friday night in particular, but it was a good problem to have. So we thank everyone involved in those efforts, and for all of our residents and non-residents who actually came out to enjoy the best downtown block party anywhere in the Midwest. And so, again, thanks. And just as a reminder, tomorrow night the fun continues with National Night Out at North School Park, beginning around 5:30 with the formal proclamation reading by yours truly at about 6:10. and some other awards and announcements, and so and then lots of fun and food and hopefully good weather thereafter. And so we appreciate if you join us at North School Park tomorrow evening. Any further announcements from the board? Seeing none, Mr. Eckles, you have one more item.
Thank you, Mayor. I would respectfully request that we enter into closed session per 5 ILCS 120/2C 21, discussion of minutes lawfully closed, whether for the purposes of approval of minutes or the semi-annual review of the minutes, and 5 ILCS 120/2C 11, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the board finds that an action is probable or imminent.
Can I have such a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion to go into closed session by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Canty. Roll call.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Baldino?
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta?
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Padovani?
Yes.
President Hayes?
Yes. So we are adjourned into closed session. We'll not be reporting back out. Thank you for joining us this evening.